Okay, so second. Okay, thank you for your patience. And we shouldn't have patience for Mashiach. We should ask Hashem to send Mashiach immediately, as in every prayer we say, we ask Hashem for Mashiach, or as Rebbe once put it, we ask Hashem for Mashiach in the morning. And the Jew sees Mashiach hasn't come in the afternoon, he asks Hashem again for Mashiach. And he sees at night Mashiach hasn't come, he asks Hashem again for Mashiach. And Rebbe said that the Jew can't be okay with Mashiach not coming today. It didn't come yesterday, and we have to ask for Mashiach. So that's one of the accomplishments of studying about Mashiach, that when you study about Mashiach, it makes it more real to you. Everyone said that even if a person is in a state of exile personally, but by studying Torah in general, Torah brings freedom, but especially studying Torah about Mashiach, that allows the reality of Mashiach to become part of who they are, so that they live a more of a Mashiach reality. They live more with the truth of the future of the coming Mashiach, so that every day becomes a day of redemption. So in this series of classes, last time we learned, if you remember, we were talking about the first, second, and third temple, the first, second, and third Beis Hamikdash. And we were discussing the difference between the first and second temple. Chassidus says that the first temple, the greatness of the first temple is that there was a greater divine revelation from above to below. And the greatness of the second temple is that there was a more of an ascent of the world from below to above. And on the surface, those two things sound very similar. If there's a godly revelation in the world, then the world's certainly on a higher level. We're certainly impacted by Hashem's revelation. So what does it mean when we say that that there is a difference between godly revelation from above to below versus from below to above? So we gave an analogy last time about two different kinds of teachers. There's one kind of teacher who tries to convey to his students very deep wisdom, very profound wisdom, and he's successful. The students can understand what he's teaching. But if they were to be asked to give their own insights, they wouldn't be able to, because all of their ability is just because of what the teacher has taught them. They don't have any of their own insights to share. They're just recipients of what he gives. Another kind of teacher is a teacher who molds a student. He tries to teach the student how to think. And then even when the teacher is not teaching, the student is still able to create his own insights, because the student has learned how to think. So in a similar way, by the first temple, the reason why it's called the first temple, the number one is significant. One means the one, the first one, the first existence, the only existence, the number one, Hashem. There's two kinds of revelation. One revelation is alluded to by the number one. It's coming from above to below, coming from Hashem to the world. And another, like the teacher teaching the student, giving him his insights from above, and the student is just receiving. So the first temple, the word temple means a place where Hashem dwells, a place where there's revelation. So how is the connection between creator and creation happening? It's coming from the creator, from the one to the two. The two refers to the creation, which is alluded to by the letter Beis, number two, the first word of the Torah, Beis, means Bereshis, creation. So there is a connection between this world and Hashem, which can begin from the way Hashem starts, where Hashem brings the revelation. Hashem causes this to happen. There's the Aleph, there's the one who brings the revelation into the world. And then there is another kind of model of connection where it's coming from the world, analogous to the two kinds of teachers. There is where Hashem is giving the revelation from above, and the first temple, there's the greater revelation. On the other hand, the Talmud says that the second temple was greater than the first, both it lasted longer, and it was physically bigger in time and space. The second temple was bigger. The second temple was longer, which time and space are the parameters of the world. So being bigger in time and bigger in space and lasting longer in time means that the divine revelation wasn't just coming from Hashem, but the world was a vessel for this revelation. And this is very in sync with many other things in Judaism, where we find 1 and 2. The number 1 meaning revelation from above, which on the one hand has the advantage, like the first teacher, where there's better ideas. The teacher is giving the student ideas. It's much better than the student can invent on their own. And number 2 is about the way the world develops on its own. And like, for example, in Teshuvah, where a person is returning to Hashem after being disenfranchised with his soul and with Hashem, he comes back. That coming back to Hashem is coming from within himself. So on the one hand, it's lower. He's how high can you lift yourself up using your own strength? It's not divine revelation. On the other hand, it's within himself. So there's advantage in both ways. So the advantage of the first temple was in the divine revelation. But through the destruction of the first temple, and Jewish people returning to Jerusalem after the 7 years of exile, they returned with Teshuvah, and they brought about the construction of the second temple, which is a more not as great revelation. There was 5 things missing in the second temple. They didn't have the Ark and the Urim V'Tumim, and on the other hand, although they're missing all that revelation, but conversely, the advantage of the second temple is that the revelation that they are having is connected with the world. It's their own experience. It's something that they own. We find a similar thing, again, in many concepts in Torah. I'll share a few. The month of Nisan is the first month of the year. What happened in the month of Nisan? Hashem took us out of Egypt. Why did Hashem take us out of Egypt? How did he take us out of Egypt? So as we learned in the last few Torah portions, there was incredible miracles, incredible revelation. The revelation of godliness wasn't because of what we deserved. As the Torah says, at area, you were naked and bare, meaning naked without mitzvahs. You were undeserving of the revelation. It was revelation, but it was coming from above. The month of Iyar, number 2, which is about the second, about creation. What's the theme of the month of Iyar? The month of Iyar is a month where every day of the month is connected to the month of the mitzvah of the counting of the Omer. We do count a little bit of the Omer in the month of Nisan, a little bit of their Omer in the month of Sivan, but the month which is associated with the counting of the Omer the most, where the entire month, every day we're counting the Omer, is the month of Iyar. What is the theme of the counting of the Omer? Torah says, "Usfartem lachem." You should count for yourself, but the Chassidic masters explain the word "sefartem" comes from the word sapphire. You should illuminate yourself. It's about bettering your character. So, in a similar way, let's look at the first tablets, number 1, versus the second tablets, number 2. It says in the Talmud that because of the first tablets that God gave us, if we were to keep those tablets, no nation in the world would be able to govern the Jewish people. With the first tablets, the revelation of godliness in the first tablets, incredible revelation. No nation could dominate us. But Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, after he broke the first tablets, don't feel bad that you broke the first tablets. Don't feel bad, because the second tablets have an advantage. What's the advantage of the second tablets? After the sin of the golden calf, what did the Jewish people do? They returned to Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu went on the mountain, up the mountain, for 40 days and 40 nights, and he beseeched Hashem to forgive the Jewish people. And what did Hashem respond? I have forgiven as you say, as you have asked. In other words, the forgiveness is coming because you, Moshe, have asked. It's coming from Moshe. It's coming because of the Jewish people have returned to Hashem because of what we have done. Hashem is responding to us. So in the first tablets, there's great revelation. It's analogous to the first kind of teachers, giving amazing ideas, great revelation. But the second tablets have an advantage as well, because the first tablets, the revelation was coming from above. And like in the analogy of the first student, the student doesn't have his own ability to invent his own ideas based upon what the teacher is giving him, because he's not able to learn from the teacher's brilliance. He's only able to absorb what the teacher's telling him, because the teacher's not giving him tools. In a similar way, the divine revelation that God gave the world and gave the Jewish people, when he gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai, as we're reading about this week, it stopped. The tablets were shattered. The reason why the revelation stopped and tablets were shattered is because revelation was something that was superimposed upon the world, superimposed upon the Jewish people. It wasn't coming from within. And just like with the teacher and the teacher and the student remain two separate things. When the teacher is giving the student all this amazing information, the student is apart from the teacher. The teacher is not teaching the student how to learn. And the Torah says that when the tablets were broken, the letters on the tablets hovered above the tablets. Why could that happen? It can happen because the revelation is not part of the world. The tablets can shatter. The letters can depart, because it's not, because revelation and the place revelation is reaching are two distinct things. However, the second tablets, which came through the Jewish people returning to Hashem, those tablets are forever. Those tablets are a product of our steps towards Hashem. So on the one hand, it's a less of a revelation. We don't have the advantage of the first tablets, where the Torah says that no nation could possibly subjugate us because of the first tablets. We don't have that revelation. We do find the Jewish people going into exile. On the other hand, the second tablets have the advantage of the Jewish people returning to Hashem. Only after the Jewish people do teshuvah, we find Moshe Rabbeinu's face shining with a different kind of light, a new revelation because of their return to Hashem. Similar thing also is we find about, as I mentioned briefly last time, we find in the end of chapter 1 of the laws of the building of the temple, Beis HaBechira, Maimonides' chapters about the building of the Beis HaMikdash. At the end of chapter 1, Maimonides discusses the sanctity of Israel, and he says the first conquering. Remember, first, number one, coming from above. The first conquering. The one again. The word first means it has to do with the number one. It has to do with Hashem. The first conquering. What does the Torah say about the first conquest of Israel when Joshua came? The Torah says that conquest did not last. They conquested the land of Israel, and then the sanctity dissipated. The temple itself remains holy. It's a different subject. The place of the temple is always holy, the same sanctity. But the conquest of Israel didn't confer eternal sanctity upon the land of Israel. Why? Says the Rambam, because it was through conquest. However, says the Rambam, when Ezra came after the destruction of the first temple, and the Jewish people were in exile in Babylonia for 70 years, they returned with Ezra, and the sanctity that was conferred upon the land of Israel through the return of Ezra and the Jewish people, that sanctity will last forever. Why does it last forever? So Maimonides says because they made a chazaka. Chazaka means an act of acquisition. The Jewish people worked on the land of Israel, they lived in the land of Israel, and they did the various things that you need to do to make an act of acquisition upon a piece of land. That's what Maimonides says. All the commentaries, starting with the Kesef Mishnah, ask the question, one second. When the Jewish people conquered the land of Israel, they certainly must have also lived there for hundreds of years. They also did acts of acquisition. What is the meaning of Maimonides saying that the first temple, the first conquest of Israel doesn't continue, it's not everlasting? Why isn't it everlasting? Because it's through conquest. The second conquest, the second assumption of the land of Israel does last forever because it was through chazaka, through an active acquisition. What's the difference? What's the difference? If the first conquest was followed by acts of acquisition, it should last forever too. That's what Kesef Mishnah asks. So Teisus Yantif in end of in chapter 8 of Adius, he gives an interesting answer. He says, certainly the Jewish people lived in the land of Israel and they did many acts of acquisition. But the acts of acquisition that they did were all because of the conquest. Versus in the time of the second conquest of Israel, we find that the king Koresh, Cyrus, gave permission to the Jewish people to build the temple, to bring sanctity upon the land. And that's why it lasts forever. Because the permission granted by the Gentile king, that lasts forever. What does that mean? So according to the deeper understanding of 1 and 2, of what comes from above to below versus what comes from below to above, or the analogy we gave between teacher number 1 versus teacher number 2, teacher number 1 who is trying to convey deep insights versus teacher number 2 who's trying to teach his students how to learn, we can understand the distinction between the first conquest of Eretz Yisrael and the second conquest of Eretz Yisrael. The arrival of Joshua conquering Eretz Yisrael. What does conquering Eretz Yisrael mean physically? It means that there are Gentiles there. They don't want you to be there. You're taking it away from them. So it's coming from one. It's coming from asserting godliness upon the world, and therefore doesn't last. However, the second conquest of the land, or the second assumption of the land with Ezra, was given by permission of the Gentiles. What does that mean? It's the Gentiles themselves are inviting the Jewish people to live in the land. And that's why it lasts forever, because it's not coming from above, it's coming from below. And I think that we're seeing a lot of this in an open way today in the world, in the way that the American government is speaking about the land of Israel. It's unbelievable. What did Huckabee say yesterday about that this is just the land of the Jewish people. We have to protect the Jewish people, and it's a whole different kind of narrative that we've been hearing. And I think it's a sign of the coming of Mashiach, where, again, when the revelation comes from above, it's amazing. But the advantage of the second temple is that the world itself is a vessel for it. And that's why the third temple is called, the number 3 is also significant. 3 means that it's and has 1 and 2 inside it. It's not just revelation from above. It doesn't only have the value of the first temple where there's great revelation. It doesn't only have the value of the second temple where there is the world's elevated, the world's able to absorb the holiness of Hashem. But rather the advantage of the third temple is it has both qualities. Both the greater revelation, like the teacher and the student, the higher kind of revelation, and the advantage of this revelation becoming part of the world. So we have the second temple that lasts longer than the first temple because revelation is becoming part of creation itself. We have the advantage of the first temple where the revelation is coming from on high, a greater revelation. And we have the perfection in the third temple of both of those things coming together. We see this also, the number 3 and other things, as this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion talks about on the 3rd month, the Jewish people arrived on the first day of the 3rd month, the month of Sivan at Mount Sinai. What's the number 3? The Rabbi Nissim writes that there are many 3s that we find associated with the giving of the Torah. The Torah was given not only in the 3rd month, but the Torah was given after 3 days of preparation. The Torah is given to a people of 3, Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. The Torah is considered a book of 3, it's in the Ternavim Ksuvim. Torah has 3 kinds of laws, Eis, Chuk, Mishpatim. We find 3 all over the place with the Torah. The question is, wouldn't the number 1 be more significant? And the answer is no. 1, again, is when the relation is coming from on high. 2 means that there is a creation, something other, something outside. Number 3 is that although there is something on the outside, that thing on the outside has become a vessel for the revelation of godliness in a way that it's able to internalize it. Let's talk about this in life. There is a child growing up. That's number 1. All he knows about is is the beauty of Torah mitzvahs. He's insulated. Amazing. Then number two, he goes out and he gets a job, he gets married, and there's this dissonance between all the other concerns that are preoccupying him. But the number three is that despite all the different concerns, he's able to see Hashem's hand in his business, able to see Hashem's hand in his family, in his life, is able to bring kedusha, bring holiness, and set aside time to study Torah and to give tzedakah from his earnings. That's number three. That's the goal of the Torah. The goal of the Torah is, as Maimonides says in the laws of Hanukkah, Maimonides says, if you have only one candle and it's Shabbos and it's Hanukkah, what should you light? The light of Hanukkah, light of the menorah, or the light of the Shabbos candle? Says Maimonides, of course, you should light the light of Shabbos candles. Why? Because the purpose of lighting Shabbos candles is bring peace to the home, as it says in the code of Jewish law, that when people always get upset at each other when they're tripping on stuff. So if you light the Shabbos candles in the home, so then there's peace in the home. People get along. And Maimonides says the whole Torah was given for the sake of peace. The meaning of for the sake of peace is not that just we should get along with each other. Peace means that things come together, that there's a connection. So the goal of the Torah is to make peace between God and the world, as the Talmud says. What that means is to bring Hashem's truth into the physical world. And that's the greatness of the coming of Mashiach. The third temple, where on the one hand is great revelation, on the other hand it will last forever in the world. As the Talmud says that the first redemptions were like the light of a candle. You light them, they go out. The third revelation, the third redemption, the redemption of the coming of Mashiach is analogous to the light of the sunlight, which lasts forever. And that's what I wanted to share today. Any questions, comments, criticism, tomatoes and cucumbers? Have a great day, Reb Zev. Great day, Chaim Peretz. A great day, David. Great day, Chaya Sarah. Sorot Tovot.
Shkoyach.